So I finished reading Feral Dreams by Stephen Alter, and there was no way I could stop myself from talking about it. And Stephen Alter's writing, by God, I have to say, is so amazing that it's just not funny. The complete title of this book is Feral Dreams, Mowgli and His Mothers, and the title itself makes it clear that it is a story about a character written by Rudyard Kipling in some of the short stories from his book, The Jungle Book. I read Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book a few months back. I made a detailed video, so if you want to watch that, I'll share the link. It's a set of short stories, and 3 out of those short stories revolve around this character named Mowgli. And Feral Dreams, I would say, is not essentially a retelling, but more of a retake on these 3 stories in which Mowgli was featured in the original Jungle Book. Because the settings are almost changed, the characters are reoriented, and everything is reset to tell the same themes which were there in the original text in a very new and more effective way. Now, Feral Dreams makes the changes in the story which I always wished for in the original text of Jungle Book. If you exclude the prologue and the last part, which is called The Elephant Child, which reads more like an epilogue, Feral Dreams consists of these 3 stories which can either be read independently or can be read in continuation as a whole story. The first part, A New Jungle Book, is written by another character in this same book which appears later in the story, and when you finish the whole book, you do want to go back and read the first bit again, because you really want to understand that how did that character come up with that whole story and what were her deductions to write what she wrote finally. The overall setup of the whole book is quite similar to the 3 stories of Mowgli from the Jungle Book. The first one tells us primarily about how the little kid was taken care of by the animals and what was his time like in the jungle when he spent it there. The second part tells us about the initial experiences of that child when he comes in contact with the humans and he starts living with them. And the third part tells us how he deals and fights with his demons. Now, when I read the original Jungle Book, there were certain things which I didn't like because it is an imperial text and there are certain allegorical elements of that book which kind of present the Indian natives in not a very bright light, and all those problems were handled so beautifully in that book that I found it really, really satisfying. And also, it wonderfully tells us the same story without really antagonizing any of the animals. Like if you recall the Jungle Book, the Sher Khan was more or less the villain, but in this story, Sher Khan, there is a tiger who limps as well, but nowhere do you feel that that particular character is the essential villain of this whole story. In fact, the demons that Mowgli deals with are not such external elements, but his internal thoughts that he has to deal and overcome. Even the identity crisis that the original text does state is handled more effectively and beautifully in Feral Dreams. If you ask me which out of the 2, the Jungle Book or Feral Dreams, did I enjoy more, I would say Feral Dreams is definitely the book that I enjoyed more. The prose are so beautiful, it is so beautiful written. If you have a thing for light, beautiful prose, I'm sure you're going to enjoy this book. As I have mentioned earlier in one of my previous videos also, these days I do not like to read stories and books with a lot of conflict. I was looking for something which was light and easy to read and still beautiful, and this book fit in that slot beautifully. The first bit, which is called The New Jungle Book, is something which I think you should at least try reading once at least. Alright guys, that's it for today, and I hope you're staying safe, hope you're taking all the precautions, hope you're reading well, and until next time, keep reading. Cheers.